Hi friends, it's Julie Golding Page, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in St. Stephen, New Brunswick, Canada, along the tidal Scudig or St. Croix River, the traditional territory and home of the Passamaquoddy. And I'm grateful that they share this beautiful place with us. So today I have for you a card that will be showing you how to color northern cardinals. This is something that I worked on very hard to make sure that they looked fairly similar to photographs that I've seen of cardinals, and I hope you really enjoy it. I had actually advertised this on my Facebook page, and I asked whether people wanted to see cardinals or blue jays. And the cool thing is I got people who wanted to see both. So today we're going to do the cardinals since they get the most votes, and then come back next week at the same time and I will do the blue jays as well. So let's get right to things here. I do have a little bit of news to share with you, but I wanted to show you this card first. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my phone properly done here. I just renovated my office. So I'm trying to get this to look right. Uh-oh, something just went wrong here on my phone. Okay, I hope you're still with me there. Okay, so here's my card, and I really liked the way that this turned out with the female cardinal as well as the male, and I actually like them both equally, so I was really pleased about that. So I will show you, though, a couple of promotions that are coming up. First of all, if you're here in the St. Stephen area, you may wish to join in this holiday tag event. So this is going to be on Thursday, the 5th of December, and I've got an RSVP deadline by December 1st, but actually there are limited spaces available. So if you do want to come to this in-person class, RSVP to me by whatever method you like, whether it's messaging me here through Facebook, or if it is sending me an email, or if you want to just give me a call, whatever, and I can reserve your space for that. So that's one thing coming up. Let me grab the other ones. So another thing I wanted to let you know about is my November special. So I'm giving away a free ribbon spool to help you with your holiday crafting with every order that is a minimum of $30 before tax and shipping. So usually I have a $60 threshold, but just to help you out with your crafting this holiday season, I'm lowering it to $30 for this month only. And you just use the host code that's listed there. So anyone across Canada can order with me, and I'll be happy to send you this free ribbon spool with your qualifying order. So that's one more thing. And also I wanted to let you know that my winter events are now available. So we can stave off those post-holiday winter blues and sign up for an event in January. I have a few different ones coming up. I think I've got 4 advertised for January. And you can find them right here through the link in this post. And I have, let's see, themes are Valentine's Day, super cute bees, fireworks cards, and oh yes, and adorable otters. So lots of fun stuff coming up for January to spice up the winter time. All right, let's get right to our project now. So I've got my card packet all cut and ready to go here. And here is our card we're going to be making. And I've got the full supply list for you as well. That is listed on the blog post that you can access by the link that's right here in this post. If you can't find it, just let me know. And it tells you all the things that I used on the card that I'll be going over here today. So I would like to start with stamping. I always like to start with the stamping because I find that that is the easiest way to get things to work out. So let's see what we've got. So when you receive a packet from me, for a class, which this was for a class online, you receive all the pre-cut little bits here that you'll need. So you can see these are all ready to go. And for our stamping, we're going to be using these 2 pieces. And I'll show you how I made those because you might want to know what they're from. So first of all, this beautiful little tag. This is from the Designer Tags dies, and here's what they look like. So you can see they're quite ornate, and they have useful sizes that are good for all kinds of things year round. I think this is not in any catalog anymore. I believe it's just online that you find it. So I really, really like these tags though. I use them all the time. So those are the ones that I use to cut this little tag. Again, designer tags dies. So we're going to stamp our sentiment. So you can see there's the sentiment that I used. That's from this Winterly Treetops bundle. And the good thing about this Winterly Treetops is it comes with sentiments that can be used all year. So they're not actually Christmas or even holiday ones. You can substitute your own from other sets if you'd rather have those. But this makes them useful for a really long time. And even this stamp of the birds, it doesn't necessarily have to be winter because you've got these little berries on here. And so it doesn't have to be wintertime at all. So let's open this up. So this is one of the rubber stamps. And these rubber stamps come with their own built-in foam cushion, as you can see right there. So you don't need anything underneath them when you're stamping, unlike the clear stamps, which require a cushion underneath because they don't come with a foam piece integrated into them. Oh, here, I better put this the right way around. Okay, so the color that I used on my card was actually shaded spruce. So here is my shaded spruce ink, and we're just going to ink that up. Let's see, looks like pretty good coverage there. And let's stamp. So I like to hold it down for a few seconds first. So if you're watching today or watching on replay later, please let me know what is your favorite Canadian bird. And I know mine is cardinals, so I just had so much fun making these cardinals. I really enjoyed coming up with the method of making them, and I was so pleased that it worked out pretty well. Okay, let's see. So that's one thing we've done. That's it for our shaded spruce. We don't need that anymore. Now I'm going to dig out my tuxedo black, and we're going to ink up our stamp of the birds. So that's the biggest bird stamp. It's got 2 birds on it if you're looking for it at home. So we're going to need a fairly hefty sized block for that. And we're going to stamp it onto this basic white cardstock. So I'm going to grab my bigger block. And I'm going to use this bigger one here so it fits comfortably. This is block E. So you can get different size blocks from Stampin' Up. And usually I just go with these ones that come for free as part of the kits. But for something big like this, it pays to have the bigger one as well. Okay, so this time I'm going to upend my ink and I'm going to coat this super well. What I find with tuxedo black is it can come out more gray than black if you don't really load the ink on there. So I just tap it many, many times until it looks really well covered. And then again, when I stamp, I hold it down for several seconds just to make sure that the ink transfers and has lots of time to do that. So there we go. All right, so if you're watching today, I'd also love to hear what kinds of birds you find in your area. We first were really introduced to cardinals when we lived in southern Ontario because there were so many there. And we were quite delighted when we came to New Brunswick a few years ago, where we were originally from, that cardinals have made their way here. When I was growing up in this region, we never saw a cardinal. I had never seen one until I lived in the Toronto area. And so it's been very exciting indeed to be able to see the cardinals here. I really like that. We have blue jays as well. And I know on the West Coast, if you're out there, you have Stellar's jays. And we lived in Vancouver for a time and loved seeing them as well. They were so beautiful. Okay, I'm just looking for my notes here because I have notes on how to make the different colors for this. Okay, sorry, I left my notes on the other table there. So when I created this design, I made sure that I wrote down all the colors I would need. So let's give it a go here, and I'll just kind of talk you through it. as we go. All right, so let's see. We'll start with the male. And with the male, we're going to do the body in Dark Poppy. Okay, so this is Dark Poppy Parade. And I'm going to use the brush tip. And I'm going to keep this here so we kind of have our guide to go with as well. And here goes our effort. Okay, so again, I've got Dark Poppy Parade. And I'm just filling this in. I'm using the brush tip. You don't have to use the brush tip, but that's what I elected to do. I found that it would work really quite well on this bird because you've got quite a bit to color here. Now, what we're not going to color, though, at this time is the wing. We're going to use a different color on the wing to make it look more realistic, like an actual bird. And feel free to turn around your paper when you're coloring. I find that really helps sometimes to get at it a little bit easier. Okay, so there is the male. The body is done. And next we are going to use our dark smoky slate, and we're going to color onto the face here. So I'm just going to try to make a similar line to what I did on there. Okay, so there we go. So if you have a darker color, this is the one that I had. So I used smoky slate, but if you have a darker color and you would like it to be even darker than this, go for that. That would be totally good too. I'm using this color because I wanted to be able to still see on the bird some of the shading lines that they provide in the image. And so that's why I did it this way. Okay, so we're going over and over that in dark gray here until it's as dark as we want it to be. Okay, so here we go. So that's pretty nice and dark there. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to, let me see, actually, I think I just made an error there. And you know what? I'm going to stamp it again because I don't like the result I got. Let me grab another piece of paper and I'll tell you what I did that I didn't mean to do there. I'll just get another piece of white. Okay, now the mistake I just made here was I colored the gray over top of the red. In my original one, I did not do that, and I got better gradations of color. So you know what? I'm going to just do that again. That's the great thing about card making, is that you can always start again if you don't get the result that you want. So there you go. So you don't have to be perfect, and in fact, you can always give it another go if it isn't what you want. So there you go. Okay, it's kind of a good life lesson, isn't it? That we don't have to be perfect and we can always give things another try if we need to. I think that's kind of an important thing to know. Okay, so let's put this on. All right, here we go. We're going to do this again. This time I'm going to actually start with the gray because I think that would be an easier way to do this. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put the gray on first. And that way it won't fill in the white in the eye because we want that to be available there. Okay, so here we go. We're going to try this again. It would have worked okay the other way too, but I just like it so that everything is kind of a little bit more obvious and we get a little better gradation here. Okay, so there's what I've got. There's the gray. Okay, now I'm going to take my dark poppy. So that's this one, Dark Poppy Parade. And now I'm going to color the male's body here. Okay. Okay, my brush tip is a little wispy there, so I think I'm going to switch to my other tip here, and that will be a better choice for this. And I'm just very carefully going along the gray there so that the colors don't bleed together, or if they do, just only a tiny bit, because I want to keep those separate. Okay, and the great thing with the alcohol markers is you can go back and add as much more color later as you prefer. So now we're going on to do the wing, and this time we're going to use Light Poppy Parade. So here we go. Again, my tip is a bit wispy here. I think I had these markers when I wasn't familiar with Stampin' Up's brush tips, and I pressed a little too hard on just these ones. So my tips are getting a little bit wispy there. Okay, so that's Light Poppy Parade. And now we're going to add some shading in the wing. And the shading in the wing is going to be with Light Smoky Slate. So here you go. Whoops. Light Smoky Slate, and I'm going to use the fine tip. All I'm going to do is trace over these black lines that are right here on the bird. Okay, so nothing too complicated there. And if you want, you can even trace them twice, because again, with alcohol markers, you can add as much color as you like, and it won't pill up the paper because it's alcohol, which will evaporate instead of water that goes right into the paper. Okay, so here's what we've got so far on our little guy. He's looking pretty good so far. All right, and now we're going to take the Dark Poppy Parade again. We're going to use the fine tip. We're just going to trace over these little lines on the bird's body, okay? Just to give it a little more definition, okay? So just tracing over on the same color we colored with before, just to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, so that's what we've got so far. That's looking good. And then we can color the beak as well in this Dark Poppy Parade. And then our little bird friend is actually all done. So look at that. All right, next we're going to go ahead and do the female. So the face, we're going to start with and get that gray on first. So we're going to use the Light Smoky Slate. We're going to come across the face and all the way down through the wing and into the tail. So again, we've got to use the fine tip to kind of make that line on the face. So I'm just kind of having a look at what I did before to make sure that I put it in the way I want it to be. Okay, so kind of like this and down into the rest of the bird. Okay. So it's just a matter of kind of drawing these little lines where you'd like them to be, and then you can color the rest of it, and we'll go back and we'll add some shading after, so no worries there. And just color this part all in kind of gray. Okay, there we are. All right. So that's the face. You've got Light Smoky Slate in the face like that. And now we're going to finish up with ivory to make the rest of the bird. So I think that's this one. No, that's Crumb Cake. I've got to find my ivory here. So this is the ivory marker. It comes with ivory and bronze both together. So here we go. I'm going to use the brush tip this time. And this is very easy. You're just going to brush in this color and that will fill it in very quickly. So it gives it this beautiful, slightly yellow color, which is very like what the actual bird looks like, if you're familiar with cardinals. So that gives it a really nice look, and I quite like that. All right, so next what we're going to do is we're going to take our light poppy parade, so that's this one, and we're going to add some highlights and the beak as well. So here's the beak, and we're going to add some highlights up here because they do have this kind of lighter reddish top on their heads. And then we're going to use the marker down here, just coloring over these lines. So very, very simple. Okay, nothing complicated at all. And then we're going to do these lines up here as well. And so that's all I've done for shading, but it's starting to look like a real cardinal, isn't it? It's really starting to look good. Okay, so now we want to go back to our dark poppy parade again. Here it is. We're going to use the fine tip for that. And we are going to put the details into the wing and the tail. So all we're going to do again is trace over these lines that are already provided here for us. So we don't have to worry about coming up with it. And you can just go tracing whichever lines you like to see kind of highlighted here. And we just add a little bit more color here and there. And kind of tracing the line. Okay, so there you go. So I just added a little bit of color and it makes all the difference there. Okay, so we've got all the hard part done now, and that wasn't really that hard, was it? So we're going to go ahead and finish up with all the berries. I'm going to keep using this marker, which is again Dark Poppy Parade. So here we go. And all I'm doing is coloring them very straightforwardly. I'm not adding any shading or anything because really I just want them to stand out as red here. So I don't want to get too involved with that. And I want the main event here to be the birds themselves, not get kind of confused with making all the branches really fancy. I want the birds to stand out more. Okay, so there we go. And then I believe I used bronze for the branch. So here's bronze. So that again comes with ivory. And all we're going to do is just add a tiny bit of color into all these branches. Very straightforward, nothing complicated. So if you're just joining me now, I'm making these Northern Cardinals here using Stampin' blends and the Winterly Treetops stamp set. And then we're going to use the dies to cut this out. And we'll make the card. So I hope you can see it's really not hard to do this. It's just a matter of putting in the little details and in the right order. As you can see, because here's why I went and started again. So if you missed the beginning of this video, I actually started again and I'll show you why. I colored the red first and then I added the gray over top, and look what it did. Like they all kind of blended together because that's what Stampin' blends are good at. So what I did on this second one was I colored in the gray first and then added the red around, and I did not blend the two together. So that was just the mistake I made there. So don't be like me, do it this way. Do it the second way, it's much better. Okay, so now what I can do is cut it out with the dies. The dies that come with this are really, really nice. So again, Winterly Treetops. So you've got this big one for the birds, this big one for a single bird, and then you've got pieces of greenery. We're going to use this large greenery one here in a few moments, and there's other little branches that you can use as well. But all I need to cut out for this one is just this image of the birds, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to pull over my little mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So if you haven't seen one of these before, they're so simple. You just put down the platform there and then grab your little plates. They all have instructions on them as to which ones to use and when. So that's very convenient. So you're just making a little sandwich. We have plate number 1, 2 plates number 2 here. See, there's the 2. Put one on the bottom. Then we put our paper in. Now, because I had to start again, my paper's too big for the machine, so I have to just cut that one a little bit, but that's all right. Now we will put on the die here. Okay, see if I can get this lined up appropriately. Now, if you find that it's hard to line up and you can't get it to stay in the right position, what I'd suggest is just using a little bit of washi tape to hold it in place, or other low-tack tape. Okay, so I think if I hold it there, it should maintain its position. Yeah, now it's been grabbed by the rollers in the machine. So here we go. Let's see what we've got. All right. And here's our beautiful birds. Look at that. Turned out really well. So I'm going to move my machine out of the way there. And now we can assemble our card. So here is the sample. I'll move my inks out of the way. And we will put together all of the pieces. So the first thing I want to do is take this die cut that I made with the Winterly Treetops dies, and I'm going to adhere it to a piece of the paper that's called Nests of Winter that coordinates with all of this. Maybe I should show you what that paper looks like, because it's pretty cool. So this same die that I just used could cut out from the paper this image, which is exactly the same as the stamp, and they've made a different kind of bird. But I'm going to pull some of these out so you can see the different patterns. They're really quite pretty. So you can use this as a piece of paper, or like me, you could cut out the different pieces and use them for different things. This is the paper we're using right now, and the other side looks like that, so very useful. There's also this one that has the beautiful birds, and it looks like birch trees in the background. The other side is this, and you can see little birds kind of hiding in there as well, which is really cute. There's also this very colorful one, which is quite beautiful. So again, you could cut out the individual birds if you want to. And on the back, we have this kind of snowy one. There's also this one that would be super easy to make cards out of. You could just cut out those, cut up that piece into panels. And then there's one more with birds, and it's also very nice. So it's got completely different birds again. So if you like birds, the Winterly Treetops bundle or the Nests of Winter suite, really, really nice. So let's get this card put together. I'm going to take this. I'm going to use the multi-purpose liquid glue, the fine tip, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. I'm just going to put little dots all along the edge here. And I'm not going to put it on the pieces of greenery, because I find that if they're allowed to kind of stand up, it gives it that 3D effect, which makes it a bit more realistic, and I just like the look of it that way. So I'm just not going to glue those little pieces of branch down. I'm going to leave them as they are. So here's a tip for your glue. Just make sure you put the cap on as soon as you can, and it keeps it from drying out on you. You can use a pin or a needle or something like that to open it up again, no problem. But in the middle of crafting, you may not want to take that kind of time. Okay, so let's try to position this as nicely as we can on our paper. So I'm just going to try to get it lined up here before I stick it hard. Okay, I think I've got it there. So I'm going to turn it over and press on the back there. All right, so that looks really nice. We got that birch going on in the background. And now what we're going to do is we're going to adhere that paper to this real red panel. So I'm just going to use Stampin' Seal for that, but you could use your liquid glue if you'd rather, it's okay. So if you like this card, this is an example of what one of my classes was like that I offered recently, and you might want to check out my current classes, which are offered for January, just to get all the supplies in time over the holidays. The link to those is right here in this post if you want to have a look. I always include some goodie bags for you as well, so you get some extra product to keep on crafting after the class. Okay, so we've got that much done. Now we can take our crumb cake card base. I'm going to use a bone folder to just give it a nice crisp fold there. And I'm going to use some dimensionals, these nice little hexagons, to attach my panel to the card base. So here we go. All right. And if you're curious about any of the special offers I showed at the beginning, everything is listed in my blog post, which is linked right in this very post itself. So you can find it all there. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'm very happy to hear from you. And I'm always glad to know that people are watching and finding my projects helpful. So it's really great to hear from anybody. Okay, so now we're going to take our pieces that are ready and we are going to kind of arrange them and see where we want them to go. So I would suggest doing this before you stick them down so that you have room for your tag, and then we're going to put a bow over there. So maybe what we'll do is tie our bow next. So this ribbon that we're using is an online exclusive. It is called Real Red and Gold Dotted Ribbon. There you go. Real Red and Gold Dotted Ribbon. So it's, again, not in any catalog, just online. And I'm going to use the bunny ear method to tie. So I just put a bunny ear there, another bunny ear here, cross them over each other and through. So with a very simple tie, you get a nice bow. Now the trick with this one, this particular ribbon, is it's different on the back than it is on the front. So sometimes that makes it a little awkward because now one of the tails is different than the other. So all I'm going to do is just twist that on the back, and when I put my glue dot on the back, that'll keep it in place. So let's see, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 over there. Let's cut that a little bit more precisely on the end. There we go. This ribbon cuts really well, by the way. So 2, 4, 6, 8 over there. All right, to keep them the same. And what I was doing there with the 2, 4, 6, 8 is counting how many gold dots I had on the other side of my knot in the middle so that my tails would be the same. Okay, so now I can get my mini glue dots out and put a glue dot on the back of that. All right, so there we go. So it's ready. Now I can adhere these pieces, and I'm going to use dimensionals on those as well. Okay, that should be enough. And I'm just going to kind of scatter them on the birds here. They don't need tons of them to stay in place. Just, I want to make sure that they're hidden on the back, that's all. Okay, so again, if we had that here, let's put on our tag. The tag would be where? How about that? Looks good. We'll stick that on. Now we'll put the birds on, and then finally we will put on our ribbon. Okay. And unfortunately, I'm not able to see any comments right now, so I'll have to go back and look after the fact. So if you've been commenting, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I'm sorry that I couldn't see it at the moment, but I will look later for sure. Okay, and now we can put on our little bow here. So there's our little bow. And actually those tails look a little big to me, so I'm going to cut off 2 more of those little dots and make the tails a little shorter. And I think they'll fit the card a little nicer. Oh yeah, that looks better. Definitely that looks better. And then we need to embellish. So I've got my embellishments here. They are iridescent foil gems. So they are kind of clear with a little bit of gold sparkle in them, and I think they're really nice. I like them quite well. And we just want a little bit of subtle sparkle here in the background, so that's what I'm going to do. So here's one, a small one there, and a large one here. And then I'm going to put a large one kind of up here, and I'm making a little triangle to draw your eye through the center of the card where all of the action is happening. So that is the end of our Cardinal card. So I hope you enjoyed this card today, and I'd love to hear what you think of it. And I'll be back next week to do another card, and here's a sneak peek before I go. This is the card I'm going to be doing next week, and I'll show you how to create these blue jays as well. Same stamp, you can see it's exactly the same stamp, but completely different birds. They don't look a thing alike. So that's what we're going to be doing next time. So thanks again for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderfully crafty week. Bye for now.